For over 2 decades, the Super Smash Bros. Series has been loved and enjoyed by millions of fans from around the world. Going all the way back to the 90s with the release of Smash 64, there's always been a dedicated group of players trying to improve and reach the top of the summit. In the previous part, which you can find right here or the link in the description, we took a look at the best Smash Ultimate players from every state in the US, going through Alabama to Missouri, and in this part we're going to be going over the remaining 25 states. If there was a player on the ult rank, I chose them as the representative for their state. Otherwise, I went with their number 1 ranked player or whoever from their scene is getting the best results in 2023. On their player card, I try to keep their results relatively recent, but for players who aren't as active in the major scene, I had to travel back to get some of their results. And before we get into the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more Smash content, and be sure to comment if I missed out on anyone. This video took dozens of hours of work, so I would really appreciate any support on it. The best player in Montana is currently Ogu HD, a Captain Falcon and Banjo player. They've been on a hot streak within the state, winning a majority of their recent events and having a dominant record against every player, including the state's previous number 1, Lucy. Though some people from the state commented on my previous video saying that Mark the SD King was the best player from the state. He just doesn't travel out to locals often. I can't confirm that he lives in Montana anymore, as his recent results have been from tournaments in Washington, but if you want to learn more about Mark the SD King, check out the video in the top right corner. The previous Florida resident and controversial player, Epic Gabriel, now resides in Nebraska. Now living in the Midwest, one of the best Robs in the United States has been a mainstay in top 8 of their events, with placements like 7th at Gateway Legends or 2nd at Honeypot 5. He's taken his talents from one of the strongest regions in the country to another one of the strongest regions in the Midwest and is a beacon of consistency. Despite living in the Midwest now, he still comes out to Florida majors when he can and places very highly at those events. Nevada's number 1 player is everyone's favorite Disney guy, MVD. The longtime veteran has gone from Florida to Oklahoma to now Nevada, and in every one of them he's remained one of the strongest players in the world since winning the first major in Ultimate history. Piloting Solo Snake, he's been one of the strongest pilots of the character and was recently ranked number 53 on the ult rank. His results weren't looking as good in early 2023, but with a 9th at Level Up Expo and 2nd at DreamHack Dallas, he's back on the right path. Out of New Hampshire, we have one of the biggest sleeping giants in the Ultimate community, Tyler, who has an insane 93% win rate offline. Tyler only competes locally, with Collision being his first major back since Shine 2019, and he still remained a threat in the New England area during that time, winning every local in his home region and only falls to out-of-region competition. While he's currently ranked number 2 behind Luxa and Eichmann, I would definitely give the title to Tyler due to his sheer dominance within the region and maybe possibly the fact that he's won the last 20 sets against Luxa. New Jersey's number 1 is the best player in the United States, Tweak. Tweak has been a top-level competitor for over half a decade now. He's won multiple majors, has wins on practically every top player, and while MKLeo hasn't been looking as good this year, Tweak was one of the few players to have a winning record over him in 2022, 3-0 as a matter of fact. He's had one of the most diverse character rosters throughout Ultimate's history, but with his current combo of Diddy Kong and Sephiroth with a little bit of Wario, he's been working wonders. 2023 has been one of his strongest years yet, with the win at Let's Make Big Moves to start the year and only missing out on top 8 once this year at Battle of BC5, one of the most stacked tournaments ever. Tweak is easily one of the top 5 players in the world. New Mexico's number 1 has been Fizz Khalifa for a long time now. While it was previously Wolfman AZ in the early days of Ultimate, Fizz has held the spot with an iron grip since his departure from the state. The Mario and Wolf co-main has remained very low-key in the major scene, generally staying in the New Mexico and Arizona area, and most of his best results were back in the early days of Ultimate. And these results include wins over players like Bass Mage, Big D, and Moxie. New York is another one of those huge regions that has their competition separated, similar to California, and to show some love to those scenes, I'm going to shout out a couple of those players. We have the prolific Pokemon trainer Quid as the number 1 out of Westchester County, and out of upstate New York we have Dark Wizzy, who doesn't compete in the area at all, but has lived there for a long time now. Out of the main region, New York City, we have the King of New York. For over a decade, the Buzz has held a stranglehold over the number 1 spot in the New York Smash community. While other players have overtaken him for a season or 2 here and there, the Buzz has consistently been the best from the state for a long time now. But Zomba? He's been on a run that's been giving him a case as the new king of New York Smash. Since his trip to Japan, Zomba has been back on the trajectory towards a top 10 or 15 player in the world that we all know he can be. Since May, the Rob has picked up 9th place at Kaguribi 10, 7th at Battle of BC5, and an amazing victory at Crown III. These were 3 of the most stacked tournaments we've ever seen, and Zombo was able to overcome the competition and place highly at all 3, even claiming Rob's first Super Major victory. DeBuzz, though, is the king of consistency, and with a win at CEO 2 weekends ago, it's hard to say who's the best right now. I'll leave it up to the comments. North Carolina's number 1 is the man who went on Lucas's best run in Smash Ultimate last year at Super Smash Con, Regalo. At that event alone, Regalo's Lucas beat Dombi, Siski, Waidu, Yanni, Chunky Kong, and Apollo Kage, and since then he's remained as a consistently strong competitor. That run alone was able to secure him a top 100 spot on the ult rank and the title of Smash Ultimate's top Lucas player. In 2023, he's been no slouch. With a win at North Carolina's biggest event of the year and 13th at CEO, the Lucas has so much more room to grow. North Dakota's number 1 player is Aaron, one of the United States' top Mii Sword players. It seems that nowadays, Aaron has made a smart decision and moved the Rob secondary that they had to the primary role in their roster. They're almost guaranteed a top 2 spot at any event within North Dakota and has begun to take their talents outside of the region more and more consistently. This has led to wins over players like Wilds and Failboat at the Midwest Ultimate Invitational and having close sets against players like Candle and Skittles. The number 1 on the Ohio PR is up between Gaius Bayonetta and Doorstop ZSS and Pokemon Trainer, both very strong players. But the best player that resides within the state is the top 30 player and choke master himself, Cosmos. Originally from Texas, Cosmos has lived in the Ohio area since the beginning of Ultimate, but doesn't compete much within the state. Known for his inconsistencies throughout 2022, where he averaged within the 17th to 25th range, Cosmos has buckled down in 2023, with 9th place finishes at Let's Make Big Moves in Genesis and a 4th at Level Up Expo. The Aegis looks like he's moving back up through the ranks this year. While Burr was able to pick up the number 1 spot on the last Oklahoma PR, and there are other strong players within the state like Superberry and Coach Ben, the Puff and Sora main, Cannon Red, takes the spot as the best within the state. Not only is he more active in the tournament scene than his contemporaries, he's placed consistently better at events. Like 13th at DreamHack Dallas or 3rd at Attack on Central 3, Cannon Red has consistently made his ways into the final stages of the bracket outside of Oklahoma. Oregon's number 1 player is one of, if not the best Shulk player in the world. Jared is King 1. Jared has been a threat within the state since Smash 4, being one of the best Shulk players in that title, but since 2022 has proven himself as one of the strongest players in competitive Ultimate. With his run in the second half of the year, he earned himself the number 51 on the ult rank, being the highest ranked Shulk player in the world. While 2023 has been slightly more inactive for Jared, a 33rd at Genesis and a 25th at Major Upset, along with many high placings in the Pacific Northwest, has kept Jared in contention as one of the best players in the world. As one of the biggest states in the country, the Pennsylvania scene is very much split apart. Like I mentioned in the first part, which if you haven't seen, be sure to go check that out here, MPG is currently number 1 in the Philadelphia region. C-, a Snake player, is the best from central Pennsylvania, but the top dog from the state is Pittsburgh's very own, the best Samus player in the US, Icy Mist. Icy Mist was arguably the best Samus in the world in Smash 4, and has been in contention for that title many times in Ultimate. While she's much more of a regional player, it's hard to find a single bad placement on her resume. This consistently strong play granted her the number 76 spot on the ult rank. The smallest state in the country, Rhode Island, is home to a huge talent in Nido Sharp. The multi-character specialist is one of the most impressive players on this list in my opinion. Not only does he compete in a relatively strong region, he beats top players from all around the East Coast with like 10 different characters. It's not uncommon to see Sharp win an event and play 5 or more characters in the process, and I might be a little biased because he plays a lot of my favorite characters, but whatever, I don't care. Though his pair of 49ths at majors this year leaves a lot to be desired, Sharp has been consistently one of the strongest players in the game for a while now. For a long time now, Peebnut has been the best player in South Carolina. While it's not uncommon to see him inactive from time to time, Peebnut has always done the best at the major level. He's been an active competitor since the Smash 4 days, being one of the top US Megamans in that title, and was ranked number 75 on the 2022 ult rank. In 2023, Peebnut has remained relatively low-key. He started out the year rough with a 129th at Let's Make Big Moves, but bounced back solidly with a 13th place at Collision. It's crazy that Mega Man's so underrepresented, yet 2 players from 2 different states use the character. Surely there won't be another, right? To carry out the Southern state tradition, South Dakota's best player is Crows, a Mega Man player. I'm starting to think this character might be kinda good. Crows has held his spot as a top contender from the state for a few years now, and in 2022 got some great major placements, like 33rd at the Big House 9 and Rise and Grind. 2023 started out rough for him with a 257th at Genesis and 65th at Sweet Spot 7, but he's bounced back with great regional results, with a peak 13th at Combo Breaker back in May. From Tennessee, we have one of the United States' best wolf players, Danny. While Terry May and Y Delirious is definitely in contention for the title, with the two going back and forth and consistently topping regionals nearby, Danny had a great run at one of the biggest majors of the year, Collision 2023. This included a win over one of France's best players, Orion, and Rhode Island's second best player, Craftus. Outside of this, the flashy wolf player has a 65th at Let's Make Big Moves and multiple top 3 placements at regionals. Originally from Florida, the best player from Texas is the best peach man in the world, Mutace. Mute has inconsistently been one of the best players in the US. Due to some hand and health issues, Mutace has some of the highest highs but the lowest lows, with peaks like second at Genesis to start the year or first at Low Tide City, but then has huge underperformances, like at the 3 Japanese tournaments he entered, and has placed under his seat in multiple events in a row. That being said, at his peak, Mutace is easily a top 20 or 15 player, and one of the most impressive competitors in the world. The number 1 on the Utah power ranking is currently Krieg, a Roy and Marth player who's been on a huge come up over the last year. Yet, I would still give the title of best player to Send. He's held the number 1 spot in the state since the release of the first Smash 4 PR in 2016, all the way to their most recent, where Krieg overtook his spot. Not only has Sen been one of the best singles and doubles players in the game since it released, he's also the most active competitor in the world, having over 400 top 8 placements while still holding a staggering 86% win rate offline. His consistently strong placements earned him the number 54 spot on the ult rank last year, and his trips to Japan and placements at majors this year have proved that he's still one of the strongest in the country. Vermont has one of the smallest scenes in the country, being one of the least populated states. Their number 1 was previously Lyrex, a Roy main who held the number 1 spot every season that he lived in the state. But since then, their number 1 has been Park Inja, a Yoshi main, who's held the spot dominantly. Just from checking their results, it seems like the Yoshi might have recently moved to the Philadelphia area or is at least visiting, but his results while in the state were insane. Winning just about every local that they entered in 2023, I'm hoping to see more results at majors soon from the Yoshi. The best player from Virginia is top US Pokemon trainer main Puppey. Puppey has been consistently strong since the beginning of the game's history, being ranked top 30 on the first PGR, and was able to secure the number 55 spot on the 2022 ranking. He dominates his local scene, where he essentially only loses to outer region talent and farms everybody else. While he's mainly focusing on League of Legends nowadays, his pair of 33rds at Let's Make Big Moves and Collisions show that Puppey's still a force to be reckoned with. Washington is home to a multitude of strong players, but JDV stands out among the rest. Rising up through the Washington ranks post-pandemic, JDV has solidified himself as one of the top 3 Pac-Man players in the world. Not only does he perform consistently well in the Pacific Northwest, he's taken his talents out of region with placements like 33rd at Genesis and a crazy 6-set losers run at Battle of BC5 to secure 17th place at the most stacked event of the year. The Pac-Man is in a position to only move up from here. Hawk is the best player from West Virginia. The previous New England PR player was originally from Connecticut and was a strong player in their scene for a long time. Having even taken a set off light in the past, the Wolfman was no slouch and has been proving himself since moving to the area last year. He's won practically every single local that he's had the chance to enter, along with taking his talents out of region. To anyone who's involved in the Wisconsin Smash scene, this is going to come as absolutely no surprise to you that Comet is the number 1 player within the state. The Solo Fox has been consistently strong since the release of Ultimate, getting ranked number 1 in all but 1 title since the game's release, along with being a multiple-time number 1 in Smash 4. Some of his best performances were from last year, but he's also remained relatively low-key from the major scene in 2023. But just from his results in the past, he's shown that he can compete at a high level. Last but not least, we have everyone's favorite state, Wyoming. The least populated state in the country has a scene that exists solely through a college scene, where Apothos, previously known as Sen, was their number 1 ranked player. The Eichmann consistently wins locals within their scene and is even actively going out to the Colorado scene to compete and get better. While he hasn't traveled to many majors, Double Down being his only one, I hope he can make his breakout soon. Wow. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching the video. This was literal months in the making. It took so much longer than the last video. I went sure, check my list 5, 6, 7, 8 times to make sure it was right. I had a lot of stuff come up to where I was having to drop the list and come back to it, and things would change. Stuff would get updated. New people were coming. It was just it was a headache, man. I'm glad I was able to get this done. I feel like this is a very important video for the Smash community to have, and I hope that you all agree with that. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a like on the video, drop a subscription, leave a comment on who your favorite player is, what state you're from, and if you're going to be the next number 1 player from there. YouTube really thinks that you're going to like this video up on the top, but me personally, I feel like the bottom one's a little more your style.